The transfer window is upon us, and you know what that means. Chiefs is about to be linked with a lot of players, but the question is, which positions actually need reinforcements? Or should I paraphrase that and say, look like they might benefit from reinforcements? We're going to look at the 5 positions and why each one of them might need reinforcements. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Bilo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. So the first one might shock you actually, and it's the goalkeeper position. And no, not a starter. Here we're not talking about someone who's going to come into the team and be a starter, because Brendan Peterson is currently doing an excellent job. But Fiacre Ntwari had that little spat with the coaches, and usually it doesn't end well because he then got injured. And remember, he's a foreign goalkeeper, so that means he's holding up a foreign spot, which then means it's easy to get rid of him because then it opens up a foreign spot. Now, Chiefs might not have to buy someone, right, to be Peterson's number 2. They might just simply promote someone from the development team. Like Utakalani Mazamba is currently one of the keepers that a lot of people who watch TDC are raving about. So, because I know that someone is saying, oh, but there's Bruce Vuma. But Vuma has been around the Chiefs and was given an entire season to prove that he's actually good enough to come in and, be the main man. But he kind of failed to do that. And that means that he's not one that you can think, if Peterson is injured, you are going to have like for like, because that's the main thing that you have. If you're a big team, once you take off one player, the other player who comes in for that initial player must just be as good. Which brings us to position number 2. Funny enough, it's the right back position. Yeah, I know. There's Monyane, there's Solomons, there's Frosler. But Frosler, just like Vuma, it's been the same thing. Frosler has looked like he does not want to play, and this season he's finally been dropped to the stands, not even the bench. Whenever he's appeared by the bench, but then now he's just been sent back up to the stands, which means now the actual ideal people who can play there, not to mention, by the way, that Frosler, when he played this season, he absolutely drank us, so that's just another story. Failing to track Umonare, it was actually embarrassing. But we're not there. In that loss, our only league loss, right? He was the one who failed to run with the defensive midfielder. But we're not there. Where we are is you also have Munyane, who's been brilliant for us, but also has a problem with injuries. Dylan Solomons, brilliant for us, also has a problem with injuries. But something that I also hear a lot from fans is that people are still divided on Dylan Solomons. A lot of people will talk about he runs a lot, he doesn't think a lot, and some people will praise him for the fact that he has an engine, he doesn't get tired, he takes people on, he's determined, he can go up and down the wing. But that going up and down the wing sometimes is overshadowed by the fact that his final decision making ends up not looking that great. And with Pirates having Abo Lebitso, Abo Van Rooyen, and them, kind of doing their job well enough, I wouldn't be surprised if I hear Chiefs being linked with Matuludi again. It's just a thought. I don't think this is like an urgent position that they need to address, but it's something that fans have talked about of, being happy but not that happy, So that's one thing. But also the other thing is subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the video to this far, because now we're about to talk about one position that is going to be very controversial. A lot of people will have opinions on this. So Chiefs are currently, having for the past 2 matches, they've had a very good combination of a 6 and an 8. In this case, the 6 and an 8 has been Matlou and Mabo, right? So we're going to start talking about a 6. Because when Mteto has played, his position is clearly defined. He's the one who's going to stay back, he's the one who's going to protect the defense, he's the one who's going to cover for the fullbacks, or the fullback rather, since one fullback for Chiefs overlaps. That's clear. But when Matlou and Mabue played, they interchanged. One goes forward, one stays. One goes forward, one stays. It doesn't have to be Matlou staying. Matlou could be going forward, Mabue will stay. Mabue goes forward, and and in modern football, that is good to a certain extent because you are playing, fluid system, so no one is predictable. However, you would also note that Chiefs, when they were playing in their African games, even with the new coaches, Mteto was there. Mteto has been there because they know the threats that the other team, might cause. So they always want to have the security of a out-and-out defensive midfielder. The issue is, whenever we talk about Mteto, everyone agrees on this. Mteto's defensive work is impeccable. No one comes close to him. The issue comes at how does he help us progress the ball. That is why part of it, because yes, he's been playing a lot of games, maybe he's being rested and the coaches tried a new combination. But part of it, they're also trying a combination of players who actually play, but can also contribute defensively. Yes, we're playing cheaper in TS Galaxy, teams that are not attacking us that much. So it's a safer time to experiment with, not so defensive midfielders. So in that aspect, they fulfill that role. But could they do better in terms of just getting someone who's actually a defensive midfielder? I'm talking about Yaya Stoll. There were talks of him being linked with Kaizer Chiefs, and they just kind of went away. And probably with the World Cup coming up, and he knows his place is kind of secured. But does he really know that his place is secured? Because here we're talking about a Bafana Bafana squad or Bafana Bafana team that is going to be playing in AFCON. And if he does not play for his team in Portugal, then you might be thinking, if I go to South Africa, I'm going to continue getting more game time. Because here in South Africa, as you can see, Bafana Bafana is mainly dominated by South African-based players. If Stolle is tempted with an offer to come back, since he's not really played in the Premier Division in Portugal, and the offer and the amount of money that Chiefs might be offering, if it's enticing, he comes back. I think that happens. I think that's a possibility. And he's a complete footballer in that sense. Oguti, he's defensive. He frees up Umkwena if you watch Bafana, making Umkwena play more like an 8. And then Stolle just stays deep, protecting the defense, but also helping Bafana play. So that's one name that might also, upgrade. I would take him any day of the week, because Stolle is such a brilliant footballer, and I think he would add a lot of value at Kaizer Chiefs. Which brings us to the partner of the 6. Maboe, Matlo, Ngobo, and Ele have all done a job, that job of being an 8, like a box-to-box midfielder. But if you look at all of them and you break down their profiles, I have seen Maboe crashing the box once, but he was playing, helping play. I've seen Lovu crashing the box once, which he ended up scoring. Ungobo becomes more like a deep-lying playmaker, because he then just dictates play, or sometimes not necessarily a box-to-box midfielder, but he looks like a central midfielder, which just means he's around, making sure that he keeps the ball around the area, circulate the ball and keep it moving. But that idea, even Ucele does the same thing as Ungobo. But the idea of a player who actually goes deep, collects the ball, but then you see him appearing on the other box. This is number 4, by the way. We don't have that, really. We don't have that, because even Umabue, as brilliant as he has been, one thing that we've been complaining about our midfielders is that no one takes shots. Like, it's only Lilepo, a winger, who's going to take shots. Anyone outside the box, they usually don't take shots, which is something that someone who's a box-to-box midfielder knows, that it's my responsibility to score as it is to also go and defend. Case in point, look at a player like Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid. He knows that he will take shots from outside the box, but you'll also find him making tackles closer to his box. Like, you can think of a lot of players who can do this. Alexis McAllister for Liverpool. I know it's not a great example of a team to make, because they are currently struggling. But McAllister was signed to Liverpool as a 10, but now he's being played as a box-to-box. So you find him defending, but you also find him closer to the box, taking shots. So it's either Chiefs adjust or changes the tactics for the 8, or they just go sign Faisal Salum or another box-to-box midfielder who's actually going to contribute goals. Because on my list, there isn't a striker, because I think the Chiefs have enough striker, but the problem is strikers, but the problem is the people behind them, which could also mean the 10. Luke Batman came on, he played in that position. Mayo in the game against TS Galaxy was played in that position. Duduzi Shabalala has been played in that position. Ngobo has been played in that position. Chislet has not even been given a chance. Sereno has played in that position. We've seen Ndlovu being played in that position when they played Mtetwa and Ndlovu as well. So that means that 10 position, unless they start showing us what what Batman can give us there, and they continue maybe bringing Mayo in that position because they're not playing him as a striker anymore, or different instruction for him to do, or Mfundo, because I think there's a lot of players who can play that role. So it's either they're not pleased with how the players are executing it because they are changing the personnel who's responsible for that role a lot. So now that's the question. But I'm going to ask you guys, in all of these positions, or even ones that I did not mention, which one do you think Chiefs actually need to strengthen? Do let me know down on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals al pelo moy.